All right, so we're COMP308, and it's week 12, lesson 12, part 1. And we had a bit of an issue last week with scaffolding using Yeoman. And the reason why we had problems is because here at the school, and most educational institutions, by the way, I tried other places as well, the problem is that our config, when we open up a terminal window or on a PC or a Mac, right, you have a Git Config, right, that exists, right? And your Git config is the problem. The problem is you want to run everything with HTTPS as opposed to HTTP. If you do things with HTTPS here at the school, you're going to be fine. And then you'll be able to scaffold your generator or use your generator to scaffold your project. While I'm talking, I will bring up the PC side so you see what I'm talking about in a second. So I'll bring this up. But what it is this, while this is going. If I was to first of all, let me just find the config file. So, git config Mac, right? Where does it location? That's what you want to find. And what you should say is git config location Windows. Trust me, do this for yourself. So, like to locate git config, right? And it's going to tell me where it's going to go. It's most likely home. See where it says $ home for me in the Mac. Means it's going to be on my Thomas home. And it's probably going to be the same thing. I think I kept it for you guys. There is a solution for changing the global git config configuration file, right? Because what you want to do, right, is this git config idea is where there's a problem. And I'll show you where it is in the Mac. On the Mac, if I go ls.al, which means list everything, it's a hidden file, as an example. And it should be, if you look at .git, here's git config. You want to look for that file on the PC. Why? Because in there, you need to make some command changes to your config. So when Git issues its commands, right, you want to use HTTPS instead of HTTP, and you can actually configure that. So every time, whether you type HTTPS or HTTP, it's going to still be HTTPS. And the reason for that is you want these automatic programs that are running in the background that didn't ask for HTTPS, all of a sudden to be converted to HTTPS. Then that'll work, right? No problem. So it's a security issue here at the school. So that's the one thing you want. So again, and if I want to say locate git config location Windows, right? Where does git config global get written to, right? And I'll wait for that to come up in a second. And it says C program files git, etc., right? etc git config is where it's going to probably be. So let's go on the Windows side and check that out. So I'm going to go to, here's my C drive. I'm going to go to C. This is program files, git. So here's program files. And again, it could be for program files x86 or program files itself. Here's mine's at x86, etc. And then I have my git config. Right here it is right here. If I open this up, I'm going to open it up with just, some editor. Doesn't matter. You can open it with whatever, right? The idea here is that you want to have access to looking at it, right? So I'm going to kind of open it up to, I'm going to kind of open it up with Sublime for now, or brackets, doesn't matter. Let's look at it with Sublime text for me. I'm just going to close these little things off that I was working on before. And I'm just going to say File, Open File, and I know where to look now. And again, you can do this with Notepad or whatever. So here, my PC, I'm going to go to program files x86, and I'm going to go to Git, and inside there's etc, and inside the etc directory there's a Git config I want to look at. So I'm going to open that up. This is what it looks like, right? It says symlinks is false, auto auto CRLF, true, diff status, diff, these are colors, right? Auto, pack size limits. These are all things that Git does for you. HTTP, blah, 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 send mail, SMTP, diff, and that's all it says, right? Well, if I do the same thing for myself, if I go back to the Mac side, just for a second, there's a command that's missing, right? Let me just go in here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if I go to, here, I'll look at Text Wrangler, and I'll look at a specific file. So I'm going to say File, Open, File by Name, and I'll open it up. This is what my Git config looks like. Look. Right? Here's what you want. See this little piece right here at the end? I don't know if you guys can see this piece right here. URL https:// instead of equals to Git. And if you look at it, see I don't have that over here? You need to have that in there. In your Git config, you need to have something that says URL in square brackets like this. Square brackets URL space question mark or quotation mark https:// question mark or quotation mark and square bracket. So change that up for yourself on your Git config. I'll leave it up for a second while you guys do that. It's important, and the reason why is you want to operate Git as if you're running it with HTTPS all the time. And then you can scaffold, and we'll show you how to do that now. Because scaffolding is a key thing for you guys. It'll save you, like I said, a bunch of time. We're going to use an Angular full stack. We'll do a couple scaffolds, and so you can see what they look like. Right? You guys got this? These lines, these two lines, what you have to change. Yeah? No? You're not able to get it, or are you? You're not following. Okay. Are you getting it?
It seems that on Windows side there's no section for URL.
This part right here. I'm saying you got to put this stuff in here, right here. You got to put it in yourself. Type it in. So again, I'm going to take this whole thing. I'm going to copy it and put it on the Windows side, right here. And I'm going to Control V, so it's going to be in there. I'm going to File, Save. And of course, because I didn't open it, it's a locked file, right? So you got to do it with administrative access on the Windows side. So let's try that again. So I'm going to kind of go in there, open. And I mean that as in you got to open up your Sublime as administrator, or whatever your text editor, or whatever you're going to use, right? So I'm going to go down to where I have my programs. And I'm going to go down Sublime Text. And I probably passed it, but that's okay. There. Run as administrator. And then now I'm going to do that change. I'm going to File, Save. There we go. Now it worked. Right, so you need these bottom lines here, right here. These two lines, URL, https://. And again, what it tells the command line is that, hey, whenever you see HTTP, get HTTP, replace it with HTTPS. And the reason for that is because, again, we have these problems here at school. They prevent you from doing certain things because of security. Right? It doesn't matter whether it's here. There's some other institutions you might work where they block a port, or they only allow you to run these kinds of commands in secure shell. So this is why we use HTTPS. You guys got it all? Now? Finally? That's good. So you're okay then. Okay, so are you good, Lily? Did you make your changes? Okay. So if you make your changes, here I'm on the Windows side now. Now we can do some scaffolding. So let's take a look at what that scaffolding looks like. I'm going to bring up Git shell. So here's my Git shell. And in Git shell, I'm going to do one of these. I'm going to go navigate back to my desktop. Here I am, and my desktop. And in my desktop, I want to create a new folder. Okay, let's make this new folder. We'll call it Angular, right? We'll because we want to make it so that you have your it's like a full stack or whatever. We'll call it mean, just with capital MEAN. Okay, Angular mean. Okay, so my over here when I do that, my folder gets created. Here it is, Angular mean, right? You can call it whatever you like. Okay, the other thing is, in order for you to have a generator work with Yeoman, because I want you guys to use Yeoman to do that. Again, we talked about this before. You've got to do it like an npm install -g yo, right? And once you do that, it'll install the Yeoman scaffold. Have you done this already? I did it kind of last week, right? So npm install -g yo, yeah? Try that. If you have, then it'll come up nicely. And you should be able to do something like this. I should be able to just type in yo, and it should work. And hello, Tom, what would you like to do? That's the first thing you want to try and come up with. If you get this with Yeoman, then you're part of the way there. So from a prep perspective, you need Yeoman. You also need to install Bower. We kind of did that last week. And again, it would be like this. npm install bower.cli, or sorry, bower -g. Let me see, -g bower. Sorry, like that. And what that does, it says, let's install Bower globally, right? That's what this -g option does. Here, let's put it up here for you guys to see it. npm install -g Bower. I'll run that command. And Bower is a dependency manager. That's what it does. It manages dependencies. It doesn't have to be just for Node. You can work it for your own code as well. It's a great little tool that you can use for managing your websites, because what it does is it says, hey, I need jQuery. Let's use Bower to make sure that jQuery is there. It just manages your dependency. That's what it does. So you need this one. And for this operation, you also need a couple more. You need to do npm install -g grunt-cli. You need that one too, grunt. Right? So you need these dependencies, if you will, for this operation to go. And I'll let that run for you guys for a second. I'll wait for that running. When you're done, right, you need to install a generator. And the way you install a generator is you say npm install generator, or actually -g, generator dash angular dash full stack. That's the one I want you to install. Generator angular full stack, right? And what that does is it creates a new generator, just like we did the Express, right? This is a generator for Angular. And the great thing about Yeoman is it allows you to do sub-generation as well. Like if you need to put together a directive, you want to establish a new root, all that stuff you can do with the sub-directives. We'll go into that in a bit. Okay, so you've done this, and once it's installed, you're going to run yo, but you're going to put it inside a folder. So I'm going to go into Angular mean. So here I am. And inside Angular mean, what I want to do is I want to make it a Git repository. That's kind of the smart thing to do. Because when we start off, we should always start with version control first. So we're going to say git init. Okay, there's my git init. It's now a repository. I also want to use, if I'm in git bash, I can actually create my files here by using the touch command in git bash. And I can just kind of establish my git ignore file, because I think it's important, git ignore. And then in my git ignore file, I want to use my echo command, right, the command line, to echo what I want in my git ignore. For example, if I'm going to use Cloud9, I'm going to push that into git ignore, right? And I'm also going to say, you know what, if I'm working from the Mac, any DS store kind of funky stuff that comes from the Mac, I want to push that into Git ignore too. I don't want to copy that stuff over. And you know what, I also want to node modules. I don't want node modules of any way, any form to go onto Git. So I'm going to ignore those two. And you know what, I might as well Bower components. Bower components is the other one I want to ignore. Right? That's the new one. And I want to push that into Git ignore. Okay, so I've got those. I also want to create, I use touch to create a README file, readme.md, like this. And then I want to echo, because I'm creating a README file, I want to kind of echo the pound sign and say Angular full stack demo, right? Push that into readme.md. Okay, cool. If I do an ls, a list, I have my git ignore file and my readme file. I want to use my command git add dot to create my new kind of stage everything, and then I'm going to say git commit -m, and it's going to be initial commit. So I'm doing all the same things we've done before, right? So I've got my git ignore file, my readme file, and you know what? I'm going to establish a little folder, a little repo online with GitHub, and we'll go in there. I'll make a new one for you guys today, and just so you guys can follow along, it's going to be COMP308, and then it will be called Angular full stack. Okay. I create the repo, and I'm going to take this line here where it says git remote add origin, this line here, I copy it, and when I go back to bash, right, I'm just going to right click and it'll paste it, and then press enter. So now I've added my remote, and I'm going to push git push -u origin master. So I'm going to push what I have into my GitHub, which works nicely. Okay, cool. I'm going to clear the screen one more time. And now I'm ready to do my Yeoman generation. So again, remember, I'm starting from scratch. I got nothing in my file. The only thing I got in here is these two files, git ignore and readme.md. And I want to create something that allows me to connect with MongoDB, right? And I want to have a login, because that's one of your requirements for your project, and some kind of CRUD. It's got to be included there. Reading, writing, updating, deleting, all that stuff's going to be done with Mongo. So instead of me having to recreate the wheel and figure it out on my own, I'm going to make this do it for us too. One thing to also check is I should run Mongo in the backend. So I'm just going to kind of pull up another terminal window here, and I'm going to say Mongo D. So I'm going to run Mongo in the backend. So Mongo is running in another terminal window. Okay, so I'll minimize that. And then you know what? I'll pull up another of these windows, right? Another Windows PowerShell. Well, actually, I'll pull it up from just a moment here. Pull this away, and I'll close it up for now because we don't need it. And I'll pull up another Git shell just for a second. Here it is. So if you look at my Git shell, which again is another Windows PowerShell, what I want to do with this one is I want to see if I want to go into Mongo. Again, if you remember from our Mongo training, we said Mongo like this. Type in Mongo, and now I'm into MongoDB, right? So I can say, of course, show dbs to show all the folders that I got in here, right? And I've got a bunch of tests already, like they're already pre-done, right? Mongo dev, I got COMP308, I got bookmarks, and do you guys remember I bet you guys don't, the command to delete to drop the database? Yep, you're correct. So if I say use angular-dev, here it is, and then I go db database.drop, right? It says type error, drop of object angular dev is not a function. Okay, so how do I drop a database? Again, if you don't know how to do it, you can always go to the thing. So MongoDB drop database. as an example. It's a very good guess though. It's actually the drop database command, not just drop database. So let's try that out. So go back here and go db.drop database. See if that worked. Dropped. Okay, let's do this. I'll drop them all. Angular full stack. So I want to start from scratch. So I'm starting from scratch, right? So db dot. See if I can just go up arrow. db drop database. It's not going to complain. Use Angular 2 dash dev and then drop database, and then use bookmarks, right? Drop database, and then use COMP308. I'll do the same thing here, and then use local, right? And then go in there, drop the database, use main dev, and then let's drop the database there. So if I go show DBS, I got nothing. Got clean slate. Let me exit out of here. So now I'm not in Mongo anymore. And by the way, if I go back down to here, you can see that I've done a bunch of these commands. I've journaled, I've removed all kinds of files. I'm still connected to Mongo, or Mongo's still running in the background, but I need to do this just to prepare. So let me close this PowerShell down. Let me close this down. So now I want to run my Yeoman Generator, and I know I want to run, I've already downloaded and installed Angular full stack. So I did that again, just to remind you, in order for me to do that, I got to go npm install -g generator. That's how generator starts off all generators for Yeoman, right? And then it's Angular full stack. Okay, so if I want to install it, I just have to do this: yo Angular full stack, and sorry, no spaces. Angular full stack. So if I know I'm inside this directory Angular mean, and I'm doing yo Angular full stack, and I press enter, it's going to say, okay, Tom, this is good. Now it says, what would you like to do? It says you have a couple of options. Would you like to write scripts with, use arrow keys, JavaScript or CoffeeScript? Well, I don't like CoffeeScript, so I'm going to write it with Java. If I wanted to use CoffeeScript, I can go here though, and it would do it for me. But I want to use JavaScript. Do you want to write things with HTML or Jade? I don't like Jade, so I like HTML, so that's cool. All right. Do you want to write things with Sass, right? Your CSS. I think it's a good practice, but we haven't talked really Sass in this class. Let's go back to the regular CSS. What Angular router would you like to use? The older router is the ng root, right? So I think I'll use that. Do you want to use Bootstrap? If you see the capital yes, right, where it says down here, I know it's hard to see. Let's see if I can move it over so you can see it. Oh, you can see it there better. Yep. So here it says Angular. See, use Bootstrap. See the capital Y, right? This means it's the default. So if I just press enter, it says yeah, I'm using Bootstrap. Would you like to include UI Bootstrap? Sure, why not? Would you like MongoDB with Mongoose for data modeling? And that's what we want to say yes to, because Mongoose is our connection to Mongo, right? So I'm going to say yes. Would you like to scaffold out an authentication boilerplate? Absolutely. This is the piece where we're going to connect to Mongo and have a user profile. Yes. Okay, you can also use OAuth. And OAuth allows you to use Google, Facebook, Twitter, GitHub, and a bunch of other ones to connect, as opposed to logging in with a username and password. That's a really good option, but I'm going to leave it off for now because I didn't ask you for that, right? So I'm going to say kind of enter. Would you like to use Socket.io? I'm going to leave it in just for messaging if you ever want to do kind of messaging or anything like that. So let's leave it in. It says overwrite my gitignore file. You know what? It's just going to add in the stuff I added in. So I'm going to say no for this one. Do not overwrite. It's going to do this thing. It's going to go through the process. It's going to access npm install for me. Now what it's doing is it's going through the Bower pieces and getting all my dependencies for my project and putting them all together in my little folder for me. Let's wait till it finishes. And it's really cool what it can do, man. Once this thing is going, okay, so what is it? What do we take now? If you timed it, do we take 5 minutes yet for this Yo generator? Hold on. You're going to love this because once it's running, it's like ready to go. Now we're going to have to go explore what this generator gives us, because I think it's important for you to understand where it puts everything. But there's some great documentation online for all that stuff. As opposed to building your own, if you learned this, you'd be, perfect to put things together. I'll show you a couple. So I'll show you this one, and I'll show you, there's another one called Angular-mean, right? Which actually is another one we can look at. Okay, let's take a look. So it's still going. I don't know if you're trying this on your own. If you are, it'll still be going on your side as well. Now, the reason why it worked today, like I said, it didn't work like last day, is because we did that change to our Git config. We made it so that Git config allows us to run HTTPS here at school and not just Git by itself. And this bypasses the requirement for us to have a secure connection at school, and everything works. Okay, that was the piece that we were missing. That was the piece that was malfunctioning last time. We spent a lot of time wasting time for 2 hours. And also fixing, we also had to fix NPM. If you remember last time, we fixed NPM so that the latest version of NPM is the one you have. All that stuff is what we took care of. It's still going. Now there's some red areas, but that's okay because we're going to kind of go through them later on and make sure that we've all got it installed. So it's going to do its thing. I'm letting it do its thing, and you should have kind of the same thing on your end if you're testing. If you're running at home, you should have any of this problem at all. You don't have to do Git config, nothing. Right? It'll run perfectly at home. Right? Okay, cool. Looks like it's finished, right? And I'm going to go, just to make sure, npm install. I'm going to do another npm install command because I want to make sure that I didn't miss anything or my generator didn't miss anything. So it's going to go through the full stack of stuff. Yeah, it looks like I did miss something. And I'm also going to go Bower install, just at the end, just to make sure that if npm missed something or Bower missed something, we're going to fix things. It says update available. Okay. Run. It says npm install -g Bower to update. So Bower is telling me that there's an update for Bower from 1.3.12 to 1.4. Let's leave it as is for now. Okay, cool. So I've got everything, and it looks like I'm going to go git add dot, right? It adds all the pieces to Git, right? All kinds of stuff, modules. And that's not good because I said that there's going to be a node module, so I want to add it in, right? So these are all stuff I'm adding into my, as says right to file name too long. Looks like I have quite a few. I'm going to go npm git -m, or git commit -m. We'll say added generator Angular full stack scaffold. There we go. Adds all that. And it looks like there's all kinds of, these are untracked files that I've got in here, which is kind of cool. Got a bunch of untracked files. I don't want to track some of these things, right? Protractor, blah, 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 grunt. These are things that I don't want anyway. And I want to say git push origin master. So if I've done that properly and I've only got 15 to push, everything up to date. Okay, so let us run this thing for the first time. So if I go, this is how you run this. On this generated scaffold, you run it like this: grunt serve. If I've done everything correctly, it will launch my Yeoman website, and here we go. This is what you get. Okay, so it looks like there's nothing, right? What does it come with? Well, it comes with a couple things. One, let's check out what's going on the Mongo side. So Mongo is actually, I've actually, kind of connected to Mongo, and I'm creating stuff with Mongo. There's all kinds of connections I've made, right? This is good. So we're going to check back to Mongo in a second. Well, here, I got a login command right here. This is all built in for you. So I can log in or sign up. So let's sign up. So my sign up, I'm going to say my name is, Tom, whatever. right? And I'll give you my regular generic email address that I use for spam. If I can spell my own name properly, that'd be good. And my password, we'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Why not? And I'll sign up. Hello, hello. I'm signed up. It says hello. That's me. And as an example, if I can click on this as well, I can change my password. I can also go home. And of course, I don't have a lot of stuff up here. But because I'm using Angular and Bootstrap, then I should have a fully responsive site. So let's go and try that out. Sorry, just going to pull this over here, so which I do. So there's my stuff. So it is responsive. It's built in, right? And then I'm going to go back out, right? Let's check out. I'm just going to launch another window just to check out what we got on the Mongo side, because this is nice. And by the way, see how it's monitoring things on the Node and Express. It says I'm connected, and I got a couple things going on. API things, API users, me, right? It's actually doing stuff on the back end. Okay, so let's go into Git shell again, and with Git shell, I'm going to go Mongo. And when I do that, if I go show dbs, it says Angular mean-dev. So if I say use Angular mean-dev, right? That's cool. And I want to show collections. Here's my collections: systems.indexes, things, and users. Now obviously these things you can customize. So I go users, right? Oh, sorry, not users. db.users.find. These are my users so far that I got in. A couple of users. I got a test user, an admin, and Tom. Again, for my if I wanted to do something with Mongo, I can go something like this: db.users.find.for-each, and then print JSON, so I can see them printed out in JSON format. There we go. And this is what my stuff is in Tom. So I say, look, if you notice, my password's even hashed, which is really cool. That's all done for me. I have also got some salt. It shows me my salt and pepper kind of thing, because they're using a MD5 hash equivalent, right? I got my username and password, and my provider, local. Provider means that I'm using local authentication strategy. Remember, when you use Passport, there's two types of authentication strategies really you can use. You can use local, and you can use OAuth. If you use OAuth, that means you can actually use things like GitHub to sign in automatically, or we didn't configure that. Or you can use Google or Facebook or whatever, Twitter. So that way you already have an account somewhere else. You don't have to make a new account here. And it accepts kind of connections from that other provider. So my provider would be above here. It would be, instead of local, it would be like GitHub or Google or whatever. And you can look up how to kind of create your providers on your own. But this is all you would really need for you to connect. So this piece right here, now that we've generated it, is one piece that's required for your final, right? So you've got this piece. Let's take a look at some of what's come out of this thing, though. Okay, so it's right now it's running. I'm just kind of shut it down, right? By the way, it says here, look, syncs in real time across clients. Add a new thing here. Okay, so because remember, it has that, we have the folder things, right? So I'm going to say this is my new thing. Whatever it's going to be, right? Say add new, right? This is my new thing. And I can also kind of get rid of this. Developer tools, these are all my things. Modular structure, features. It's my new thing. Are you talking about from a Mongo perspective? Oh, like this, and see what happens, just for to see that it's persistent. Is that what you want to see? What do you want to see?
I mean, it's like synchronizing the features.
Oh, to see that it's there in some other browser? Oh, sure. Yeah, sure. I'll pull up another window. So let's see. You just want to see if it's persistent, if it doesn't go away, right? So here's Chrome, and if I go localhost 9000, it's on localhost 9000 in this case. I'll pull it up since I'm running, and then if you notice, it says this is my new thing. And if I kill this, like if I want to kill development tools, see how both go away because I'm using Angular. It's instant. If I kill this one and this one, bang, kills this one. Right? They're synchronized, like you said. Right? So this is my almost like a list that is keeping track in memory or on Mongo. So if I go back to Mongo 1 second, so I can show you, we went to that collection. If I go Mongo, right, and show DBS to show that it's still there, use Angular mean -dev, right, as an example. And if I go db.things, because I know things is the one, I want to go find, and I go for each, and then print JSON, right, and press enter, you can see all the things that are here. And if you notice, the last one is this is my new thing, right? That's the one I put in there. So it actually adds it into the database, right? So you've got, right now, you can see that you've got kind of an addition and a deletion. I've also got users that I can go in, and I can definitely, from a user's perspective, I can change my password if I want to. I can also log out. Right now I'm logged in. I'm logged out of this one, and you know, if I refresh on this one, I see that I'm logged out, right? I can log in, and if you notice, it just gives you a little message here on the login page. It says, hey, if you want to use admin, it gives you a little different way of looking at things. So I'm going to use my admin email for a second just to check this out. You have to have a admin user. So Control C. And I'm going to use admin for password. That's my password, and log in. Well, now I get a different view. I not only just get Angular mean home. This would be my brand, right? Home and admin. Here's my admin. I can go into admin. I can see all my users, and inside my users, I can do a delete. I can delete my test user. So here's a delete them. It's gone, right? Without any kind of, are you sure? Just gone, right? And if I go back into Mongo, right? And if I go to db.users.find, actually I'll clear the screen for a second. db.users.find, and we'll go for each again. We'll do that whole for each thing. Print JSON, right? So then you notice there's only two users now: the admin user and me, right? So I just did a deletion there, right? So I've got these. I can delete my users, and if I go back to this, I can change my admin password, which is the update, and of course I can log out again. Okay, so these are all good things. I can also register a new user just like I did before, right? If I click register, it takes me to my sign up page. Okay, I'm gonna get out of this, and let's take a look a little bit at the code behind. I'm just gonna exit out of here gracefully. Bye. And what we'll do is I will stop my jobs here, right? So that way we're not listening anymore, right? On the grunt side. I'll minimize this, and what I want to do is bring up, let's bring up brackets for a second. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in this new folder I made. Angular mean is what I called it. Take a look. So I got all this stuff, bow.rc, my git ignore file, which is a problem opening it. See, can't open my git ignore file. But all these other stuff I've got, like git attributes, editor config, all this kind of stuff here. There's a bunch of stuff that it adds in for me, but the keys are, I've got my client side. When I look at my clients, this is all the stuff you see from all my views are in here. And if you notice, all my Bower components are in here too. So there's all my Bower components, or Angular Bootstrap, blah, blah. That's what Bower does, right? And inside my app, I have a couple things. I have my account view. This is all my account views, right? I have my admin, and I have my main. And if I look at main.html for a second, right? What does it say? I got a banner, kind of thing. I include my components, navbar.html, and then in there I'm saying, here's my features. So I'm using Angular. I'm using an Angular container to go through and basically show things. I'm using Angular repeat, ng repeat, to say I'm going to kind of look at my thing in awesome things, which is my awesome things controller, right? As an example. And I can go through and cycle through, and inside these list items kind of show my awesome things kind of in here, right? That's using my Angular, right? So here's my main controller.js, and if you notice, I have my Angular mean app. That's my module, and I have my main controller. Here's my main controller, and then it's basically saying, give me the ability for me to look through, and I have different functions where I can do things like post, delete, and also I can undestroy. It does different things. If you look through the code, it's quite large, but if you understand what it does, again, it's a nice little scaffold, starting out place for you, as opposed to starting with nothing, right? Because starting with nothing, starting from scratch is quite complicated. There's all kinds of stuff to do with Passport and different authentication strategies, as well as using Mongoose. There's two things you need to learn: Mongoose for connecting with Mongo, and then Passport for connecting and using your authentication with Mongo. Okay, so this is one. Just want to go one more. So let's take a look at Git shell again. Go back in there. So I've got this Angular mean puppy right here we just created. Let's make another one. So I'm going to say go back out a couple spaces, and I'm going to make kind of go to my desktop. And now that's cool. Let me take it. If I just press Yo, and if I installed Yeoman, it shows me all my generators. So I've got Angular, Angular full stack. I got Karma and Mean.js and Web App and Zerb Foundation 5. That's what that is. Zerb Foundation 5. So I can create like basic sites. Again, if you're a Yeoman person, you want to, you like Yeoman because it serves up your scaffold. Again, I would go to Yeoman website. Right, here's Yeoman, yeoman.io, and if you notice, it tells you how to use Yeoman, how to install Yeoman, all that kind of stuff. I think it's a good little tool. If you go discovering generators, these are all the different generators that are popular and hip. Here's Angular full stack, the one we just used. Angular is by itself Angular. And if I go into one of these, Angular is made by the Yeoman team, by the way. Let's go into Angular for a second. Well, not only does it give you Angular, but it also gives you how to use it, how to generate it. And there's also these sub-generators that you can use, right? So when we say sub-generators, you can actually go through and say, I want to create a controller. Well, how do I do that? I go yo Angular controller, and then I have a user, right? I can make a directive the same way, yo Angular directive, and whatever my directive is, right? Which is quite cool. So you can actually scaffold out pieces of your web app with Angular, if you just use the regular Angular one as a starting point, no problem, right? So I mean, that's kind of scaffolding. It's kind of neat. A couple more, and then we'll go into some stuff. We'll stop. Here's my Chrome extension. Here's Polymer, my backbone, Ember. If I want to do an Ember.js kind of thing, CG Angular. If I want to search for something, I can always type it in here, like mean. If I want to do mean. And then all of a sudden it says, well, here's Mean.js, right? The official Yeoman generator for Mean.js. Mean stack, mean, right? And so on, right? Well, I've already done Mean.js, and it tells me the kind of, if I wanted to kind of do a mean scaffold right off the, off the top, I can do that. And if you scroll down, it tells you what to do. npm install -go. You install generator-mean.js, and then from there you run it, yo mean.js, and then you just use grunt, and that's how you'd run things. And then here's your sub-modules. You can make a CRUD module sub-generator, which does the CRUD for you. So you say yo mean.js CRUD module, whatever that's called, and the module name, right? So that's kind of cool. And it talks about how to scaffold out your project. Instead of going from scratch. Okay, so let's try that out. Mean.js. What does that give us? I'm going to close this up. Okay, so I'm going to kind of skip out of this because I don't need this right now. And in my desktop, I'm going to clear. In my desktop, I'm going to make a new directory. We'll try the same thing again, so you see it again. We'll call it Angular Mean.js. All right, so this will be another directory right here. And I'm going to skip some of these steps I took. I'm just going to make it git init right? So kind of that's the wrong place. I put it in my desktop. Hey, what about if you create a Git init on your desktop? How do you get rid of it? Just kill Git. If you kill this, then if I just ls again, I'm good to go. I don't see that funky thing. So I didn't mean to do that. I want to go cd angular main.js, and now I'm there. So now I'll do a git init. Good. And I'll do a git. Sorry, I'll do the same thing. I'll do a touch. So actually, you know what? I won't include my git ignore because it's going to include it for me, just like last time. So now let's do yo main.js. Right. So now we're trying another one. So instead of Angular full stack, we're going yo main.js, and press enter. Okay. If everything goes well, it says welcome to Yeoman. What would you like to call your application? Right. Let's leave it as mean for now. It's fine. How would you describe your application? Full stack, JavaScript, you can make your own thing. How would you like to describe your application in comma separated words? Yeah, whatever. What is your company author name? It's me. Some other similar choices. Would you like to generate the article example CRUD module? Yes, I would. So I want to see what that looks like, right? It says, which Angular modules would you like to include? Press space to select. ng cookies, ng animate, ng touch, ng sanitize, sure. Right? And that does its job. Same kind of idea. It goes through, installs all the stuff for you, all the piece parts, all the npm modules. If it's going to use Bower or anything like that, it goes through this. This one doesn't use Bower. But the great thing is it goes through and it does everything for you. And when you're done, right, just type grunt and you're good to go. Right? As opposed to starting off your own Angular module, connecting with Mongoose, doing all manual work. It's all good. I like it. If you want to do everything manually, we're sitting at week 12, 12, 13, and your stuff is due. To me, I don't know. I want to give you kind of a jump-off point, and that's why I'm telling you this is another alternative for you, as opposed to starting from scratch. I'll let this thing do its thing, right? And remember, when I'm done this, you know, I always want to try and do an npm install at the end. If you notice, there's some versions of npm it's looking for. My version of npm is more advanced than this one, right? Because it looks like a little deprecated, this one I'm using, which is totally fine. It still works. But the really cool ones are Angular by itself. Like if you go yo Angular, if you ever want to start a brand new, from scratch, Angular website, that's a good starting point too, right? Because it puts all the piece parts together for you, right? As opposed to, here it is, I'm done. All right, cool. I've got like 21 additions. Let's just do a clear. And let's do an ls. It looks like I got a git ignore file and a Bower RC file. This is cool. So I'm going to go npm install just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Just going to look to see if there's any other dependencies I missed. Sometimes the installer doesn't quite take care of everything. I'll go Bower install. Just make sure that I've hit Bower. Bower's good. Okay, cool. I'll do a git add dot. These are all things I'm adding. And I'll go a git commit -m. I'll say initial commit of the scaffold. Good. That's done. Right? Now I can always push that if I had a remote repository, which I don't right now. But now I can do things like just go grunt. I've got my Mongo running in the background. If I go grunt, right, and if I've done this fine, it's going to connect. But if there's no other issues, hopefully it will work. And it started at port 3000. Let's bring that up. So we go to port 3000. Again, it's a little bit of an older one. So localhost, port 3000. It's running. And look, I got to sign up again. Sign in and sign up. Let's go to sign up. Oh, look, it actually includes OAuth for GitHub, for LinkedIn, for Google's Plus, everything. It includes it all, off the top. Right? It didn't even ask me. It did it for me. So, sure. Log in as normal. I'll use my settings for my password, username. I'll call myself Thomas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sign up. Password should be longer. Doesn't like 6. It's good. like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. What about that? Sign up. Okay, cool. I'm signed up. It shows me that I'm here. Gives me some options to edit my profile, manage my social accounts if I want to, change my password, or sign out. I have some articles I can go to. Let's list the articles. Here they are. Let's create one. So this is the CRUD example. Here's my new article. My new article. And here is an example article. Demonstrate CRUD. Submit. Here's my it. I don't know if I've got a delete. And I've got an edit. Let's add that. Let's change that a little bit. Add a couple spaces in there and say, I forgot to say hello world. Right? We should say that every time we do some kind of new program update. Now this is neat, but it's wrong. This is something that you'd have to fix because it compresses what it says there, but it does hold the whole article in play, right? Okay, let's add another one. So I'm going to go back to articles, list my articles. Here's my article, right? And I go to articles, new article. Let's add another one. Here is yet another new article. This is just to show off. Right, submit. Okay, go to lists, list articles, a couple articles in there, which we've done some additions. I've got my stuff in there. Let's go back to the main page here, and it's some stuff that's showing here on the front end just to tell you how to run mean. And then just to make sure that we're running things properly, let's check our Mongo backend to see what that looks like. So I go here, and I'm going to say, Mongo, right? Okay, it's connection to test, show DBS. I got another one, mean dev. So I'm going to go use mean dev, use mean dev, it'll accept that too. Show collections, what are the collections? I got articles, sessions, right, and users. All right, cool. So let's go to db.users.show or find, and we'll go to for each print JSON. There we go. So it shows me my username. And again, if you notice, my username is hashed. Good thing is it doesn't show my salt this time around, right? It tells me the date it was created, time, and so on. And first name, last name, it has different formats. So if you notice my roles right now, I only have user as a role. It means I have an ability to create different roles in this particular case, right? Which is kind of neat. Okay, let's go into one more thing. I'm going to say db it's not just articles, right, dot find, and then for each, we'll do the same thing down here, print JSON. So that's what my articles look like. So these are all my articles, right? So I've got the first one, here's an example of article, demonstrate blah, blah, blah. And then, the next one is this is just to show off, right? Here's yet another article, right? Make sense? So again, you can see that the Mongo side is working. Okay, what does that look like now? So we'll just kind of exit out of here, right? Bye. We'll minimize this one as opposed to closing it, and kind of minimize this website as well. You can see that we're still monitoring from a Node.js perspective, and we're looking at articles, and there's an article number here so that it kind of compiles the article number as long with a custom URL. That's kind of bringing it up for the article, right? Our modules, different users, controllers, this is what's accessing module, users, services, authentication client. So this is where this is where it looks like. So users, core, all this kind of stuff. Well, let's bring up our brackets, because I like brackets, and I'm going to drag and drop this one in, mean.js. This is what this looks like. If I go to my git ignore file, this is what it's ignoring. dsstore, node, mon, ignore, sass cache, npm debug, public lib, bower, any kind of bower, anything. And then if you look at our public, where it says public, this is neat. shows us our modules, and here's our users. And if you go down into this, here's our views for our users, right? So here's our authentication for the user authentication. Let's move this over here so you can see. And it's all in HTML. Here's our sign up sheet. So you can see you can customize this if you'd like. But everything's broken down into views for passwords, settings, and so on. That's that one. And this is just for users. If I go to core, right, and I go to views, then this is what my header looks like for the header bar. And again, if you notice, I'm using data-ng controller header controller, and header controller is a thing that I'm using for AngularJS, so that way I can control the way things come out. Here's my client view as an example. So each one of them has, for my home, for each client has its own little home page. Congrats, you've configured and run the sample. Of course, you're going to change all this stuff to make it say whatever you want, right? This is the core. And instead of articles, you're going to do surveys, right? So you're going to make another module. You're going to module, instead of articles, you're going to make module surveys. And then you're going to put all the stuff in here for your surveys. And if you wanted to know how to do that, to scaffold it out, let me just go back up. Again, the great thing is if you say learn more on this one, it takes you back to the original website. And it talks about how to use modules, right? How to install stuff. It talks about the blog. How to use your Yeoman Generator to install everything. And Yeoman Generator is what you want to use because you can go with things like this. I want to make a new CRUD module, subgenerator. So I'm going to say Yeoman.js CRUD module, and instead of because you need to use this for your survey, so I would just say this right here and call it surveys instead of what it says, right? Because right now, let's take a look. Go back to my, is that it? Yes, I'll kill this one. This is still running my website, so I will stop running for a second. Stop listening. Yes. And this one is what I was using Mongo over here, so I'll keep that up so we can see the Mongo module we're going to create. We're going to make a new module. So there I am, Angular main.js. I'm going to go yo, exactly what it says here. Let's use the syntax, yo main.js colon crud-module. That's the way that's the command they've got created in their scaffold. They've created that subgenerator so you can make this new module, right? So I'm going to kind of copy this, copy, go back here, right click, right? And then when I do that, I'm going to call it surveys. Now it's going to ask me some questions. Usually what modules do is they say, hey, I'm creating a new module. Which supplemental folders would you like to include in your Angular module? Press space to select. Well, I definitely want all this stuff, right? So I can kind of scroll down. I want CSS, custom CSS in there, maybe some images, some directives I'm going to put in there, some filters, and anything else I want, right? And press enter. Would you like to add the CRUD module links to a menu? Sure. What is your menu identifier? Leave it empty and press enter for the default top bar menu. So top bar, sure. It's done. Okay, cool. Let us run this thing and see what the difference is. So I'll say grunt, made my changes, right? And if everything's good, then I should be able to go into, now it's giving me some stuff module not found, but I'm running here at port 3000. Let me see. So I go back to port 3000, which is here, and we're going to go back to the beginning. And look, here's surveys. For there, I can list surveys. I can do a new survey, and you can choose your customization right there. Guys, I'm giving you this. This is like, the secrets of doing things quick. Why? Because this is what we do. I don't want you guys to start from scratch. I want you guys to start from place. Look, in most cases, we never, ever start from nothing when we make a website. We always scaffold, build something out. And again, you might, if you really are someone who who wants to start from scratch because you don't want to include a bunch of other stuff that the scaffold gives you, that's a good reason to start from scratch. And you could still do that. You can actually scaffold a smaller section. So you say, I want to start off with just Angular, right? Or you know what, I want Angular and just Mongo, you know, kind of thing. Is there a generator for that? And sure, I'm guessing if I go to Yo for my Yeoman, here it is right here. If I go to Yeoman, and that's not what I wanted, and if I look at generators, right, here's my generators. If I just put in like Angular and then dash Mongo or something like that, if I just put Mongo in there, you know, just to see if there's anything like that, you might see that there might be some generators. Here's ng Express, a Yo generator for easy, simple, minimal Angular plus Express plus Mongo mean, right? Here's another one, Mongoose, a Mongoose generator for Yeoman, and so on. So I would explore Yeoman if I was you. I think it's a great way to start off. That's all I really want to talk about today. And the rest of the time is your time to sit down and do your work on your project. We're going to be, remember, these next sessions today, tomorrow, are work sessions really. I'm not trying to teach you anything new, but I wanted to complete this because we kind of missed this from last week, right?